But you you have quite a bit of responsibility with your position, what you do.
Yes, I do.
It's interesting because I Google I knew what you did, and I knew you had I kind of knew your position, and I Googled, and it's like, oh, president CEO. I'm like, doesn't ring to me. You're just Dave from the
That's
pool,
right.
right? And I'm sure that's how you want it to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It, but it is a very there's quite a bit of responsibility with that position, especially at a chemical company. And I'm sure that there. I mean, we just talked about needing stress relievers. There's a reason you need a stress reliever because it's. So how does somebody come from Toledo, Ohio, to where you are now, career wise?
So the company that I work for was headquartered in Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
and they purchased a facility in Maine. Oh gosh, back in '94, and that I joined the company just after that acquisition, and so family-owned business, father and son were running it, owning it, and so forth. And it's not unusual in family-owned businesses for generations to maybe not see eye to eye, and they decided to split the company up. And the son wanted the Midwest facilities, and there was the main facility left. And so the owner of the company asked me if I would move, and as part of that willingness to go was an ownership piece of the company, and that was enough to get me to move my family 1,000 miles away from all of our family and come out here. And
Had you been to Maine before?
I had. So started in '94, didn't move here till 2003, and I ended up running the financial side of the business from '97 to 2003. So I came to Maine quite a bit and knew the people, knew the plant, knew the business, and just saw that as an opportunity to do something different. When we told people we were leaving Maine or Ohio, they're like, "We never thought that you would leave. We thought you guys were homebodies. You would never leave the state, never leave the Toledo area."
Right.
But it was a challenge, and it was an opportunity. But it was also a situation where we thought I would be in Maine for 2 to 3 years because the owner was getting older, and said, "Well, will you move out there and help me straighten some things out, and we'll sell it?" And I said, "Sure." So 5 years in, we finally got things kind of going in the right direction, and at that point I was kind of invested. And then we started to talk about, okay, what's the future going to look like? His retirement. Did I want to continue to stay with the business? Do we want to sell it? And we still wasn't really in a position where the company was going to draw much as
Right.
far as a sale price. So stuck it out for a little bit longer, and then it became evident, like, well, I'm in. I'd like to take over running it. And I was running it. I had the title and everything in 2003, but the ownership side, that kind of came a little bit, I'd say, later within those first few years. And having that vested interest, and then enjoying what I'm doing, and family was happy, the kids were loving it. So
Right.
it was, well, why don't we try and make this a little more permanent? And so it's been a good run. It really has. I was in my 30s when I took over running the company. I mean, so it was a lot of sleepless nights
Okay.
early on, and a lot of work that needed to be done. And there were, some of those days where you're feeling sorry for yourself, and maybe that helped shape me, even more so, that you figure out, all right, take a deep breath. Tomorrow's a new day, and you just kind of plow through. And a lot of people helped us along the way, which was great.
So what is? I don't really know what GAC Chemical does. Am I even saying that right? GAC?
I prefer GAC.
Okay, GAC. Sorry.
And that's it's been the name of the company for a long time, and so we've kept the name.
So give me a quick kind of what?
I would say that you could describe it as water treatment chemicals, so water and wastewater. We do industrial chemicals, and then we also have a food and pharmaceutical line. So there's about 80 people that work at our facility. We've ballooned up closer to 100. COVID's kind of impacted that a little bit.
Right.
But it's a good group. It's a good group. It's fun business.
And so, do you have a business background? Is that like what you went to school for, or?
So I'm a CPA by trade.
Okay.
I don't do taxes, but so I have a financial background, and when I got out of college, I went to work for a CPA firm, saw a bunch of different businesses. So from hospitals to manufacturers to large companies to small companies, and just decided that I like that small company type feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I don't know, it just seemed to suit me. More personable in the people you employ. You can have that family type atmosphere, close knit group,
right?
And I had an opportunity to leave the firm after about 4 years there, and I joined GAC. So I've had 2 jobs since I left college. So I've been at GAC now for 25 years, and it's just like it's flown by.
Was that a good path, do you think, for what you did, or would there be a better path?
I don't know. I mean, I guess another path would have been just stayed with the firm longer, and then maybe slide into a position at a larger company, and certainly a pathway. But I like.
But the schooling wise, was it good?
Wise,
like, is it
absolutely? And the hilarious part of I went into business because I didn't like the sciences. I didn't like chemistry. Now I'm running a chemical company. So,
right.
We've got a lot of smart people that work at the company that can handle that kind of stuff.
Right. And then there was a point where I believe for my work, the safety director, you ended up hiring him, and there was a connection there, and that occurred to me at that time, like, oh, Dave works at a company that needs a safety director, and that responsibility of that, like that. And I know for where I work at, NSGL's foundations, like safety is what brought us to the company to the next level. But having that be a priority, I wanting your workers to go home safe every night. I mean, that's got to keep you up at night, just worrying about, because you responsibility. I'm sure you've thought about this all. Don't want to be putting on you here. Oh, it never occurred to me. But there is a lot of responsibility there.
A lot of responsibility. Safety, environmental, all of it. And so that was a kind of a renewed focus. We had a gentleman working for us, been there 45 plus years and was retiring, and he was our safety guy. And so trying to replace that was important to us.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be a huge thing. Obviously, your chemicals are not the safest things.
No, but chemicals are in your everyday life.
Right.
And so, when you think about the kind of things that we do, we're making chemicals to clean drinking water, to treat wastewater, that go into food preparation, food manufacturing, pharmaceutical manufacturing. So they're all made for a better purpose.
Yeah, and you were working deals in Mexico, and
we have
how's all that?
Yes.
How's that all come
We
up?
have a group that has manufacturing assets on our site from Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just part of as much as we talked about me being a little bit of an extrovert. It carries into my business. So we're not afraid to be out there. We're not afraid to network to help us. We're a small company. We have one location in Maine. How do we get that word out? And our company well, that facility has been a manufacturing facility since the early 1900s, fertilizer, and then it was really big into paper, and then moved out here in '03, and paper is not what it is.
Right.
It's not today what it was back then.
Right.
And so we had to find a way to reinvent ourselves. And so it was, okay, what are we going to do? And how are we going to do it? And so, hit the ground running here in '03, I really didn't know anybody. I knew the people that worked at the plant.
Right.
But then it was, okay, I got to get to this organization and this organization and just get out there to meet people to then say, hey, here we are, here's what we do. You got to raise your hand, right? Here we are. People typically don't just call us and say, hey, we want to come to your facility or we want you to make this product.
Right.
Especially when you're trying to diversify and grow your business. And we're not walking away from paper. We're still deeply entrenched in that, but it's a smaller group now that we deal with. And for that group of people that work Waldo County, I mean, it's not a big area, and there's not a lot of industry there, a lot of local folks. So how do we kind of keep that going?
Right.
To provide the jobs that we do. And so it's been a journey, and we're still on the journey, and that's the fun part. I mean,
I was just going to say that.
It's that's the drive. How do you win? How do you win at business? How do you have a better time when you're exercising? It's just that drive and
right.
the competitiveness of to be successful.
And I know for me, I couldn't work a job where I didn't have new challenges every day. And that's my favorite part. I even switched jobs for you. Like, I love starting a new job. I know you don't have much experience in that, I found out. But every time I'd start a new job, I'd I'd interview and get a position I didn't quite deserve. I'd interview up, oversell myself. And then I'd be like, okay, now I've got it. Now I got to figure things out and quick. And I love that. I love that pressure, that being in that position. And I'm just thinking about what you're saying there, like figuring out, okay, how do we find this? How do we fit? What's going to need us in the market, and making it happen? That's going to be quite a rewarding, challenging, but rewarding, but something I think
it is, but having a group of colleagues that I do and working together on that it's your team, whether it's your basketball team, your football team. It goes
right.
back to what we talked about.
Right.
Somebody's got your back, or having those people that you trust and that have those common interests or common goals. And part of our transition from the founder of the company is we put it into an ESOP, so we're employee owned. So there's that additional, I'll say, incentive,
right,
because they've got a direct financial interest in how well the company does, and that's very motivating for
Absolutely
a lot of people. That it's not just working for the man. I'm working for myself in a way, because, and that's the message. We go through strategic planning every year, and the management team that gets together, I said, you are the people that make things happen here. Our decisions we make every day, not just the ones that David makes, impact the success or failure on a daily basis. And we all fail. I mean, so it's not that, failure, is not an option. I mean, failure happens. But it's then how you deal with that, how you pick yourself up and get back in the game, right? And all right, we're not going to do that again. We're gonna do something different. But that whole group is then focused on those common themes of, I'll say winning, but it's like setting goals and being successful and dealing with challenges, and how do we grow our business? And trust me, it's not just me. I can't sit here and say, oh yeah, I'm the one that did all this. That's not it. We got this team approach, and strategize and be collegial in how you go about running our business.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to see all the analogies to sports, and what my girls, I mean, there's been seasons where, especially during COVID, it was kind of hard, but it's like, I want you playing sports. Pick a sport, but you're doing a sport. There's so much value in there, just in the losing. You learn the most from from each little failure you learn so much. Each success, the teamwork, everything that goes in. I mean, there's just so many layers and layers that just directly correlate to work, to being successful. And then it's interesting when you mention the buying in, and that I remember my first, well, my job during college. I worked at the Bangor Mall in Athletic Attic. It was a shoe store, and we were the number one shoe store in the mall by far. And they gave us like 1% on we get 1% on every shoe sold, or 5% or whatever. It was a small percentage. But we were so motivated to sell shoes. We were just and we did a good job. We didn't want them returning them because then we'd lose the numbers. That little bit of incentive made us competitive with each other, because we had a little on the little computer, and we could pull up and see where you were on the hour. Like you were, oh, he passed me. I gotta get a couple more. But it was amazing that little. We're talking about a shoe store and a little tiny incentive, and how far that went. And I could see how what you're talking about with you can have people buying into safety, where in a bigger company or doesn't have that kind of vibe, where it's hard to sell somebody. Well, if an accident happens or something happens, how that hurts the company, hurts all of us, and brings us all. Yeah, I think that's a great thing.
That's an ongoing challenge. It just is in any company.
Right.
It's
right. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I think about when I was talking to our safety director. I was growing up when I worked in construction jobs. There was always this macho kind of like, who's the guy that can go up the ladder and do this crazy, oh, that's the guy that got it done. Wow. It was celebrated. And trying to work that out of people, don't think that way.
Be the hero.
But we all want to be the hero in a certain way.
You do.
Yeah.